Quarterfinal Friday and Saturday is here, and we welcome you to another episode of This Week in Hockey East. Along with Bridget Prue, I'm Eric Galanti. There's so much to talk about. There's so much to break down. Everything went chalk on Wednesday night, so we have a bunch of really impressive, exciting games. All four of these matchups in the quarterfinals, the two teams split the regular season series, so there's nothing exactly that we think we know for sure, and a lot to break down. I think the game that I'm most intrigued by as we get started here, Bridget, is BU, who takes down Vermont, and now they get UConn on Saturday, and it feels like all of a sudden BU might have some confidence and momentum going into this quarterfinal.
Yeah, BU, the 6 seed, beat Vermont, the 11 seed, and they really did it by getting contributions from their big guys, right? Cole Eiserman scored twice. Cole Hudson scored as well. And let's focus on Cole Eiserman for a second. He's our Service Credit Union scoring leader. Eiserman now has goals in 5 straight games and 7 of the last 8. He's had a bunch of multi-point games recently as well, 4 of his last 5, and we really never had reason to doubt that he could get back to this. He had such a great freshman year, so not completely surprising that he's come back to that level. And also BU's power play finally coming to life as well. 2 power play goals in the win, first time since October 25th, with multiple power play goals in a game, ironically, against UConn, who they're about to play. But BU had been under 8% since the start of November on the power play. And special alumni was in the stands for the game. Macklin Celebrini, fresh off winning silver in Milan, was at the game because the Sharks are in town to play the Bruins. So he came to support his former team, where he won the Hobey Baker 2 seasons ago, and also support his older brother, Aiden.
Yeah, it was certainly good vibes going on there. I think that, it's kind of as odd to say, right? Because BU did lose to Lowell the last game of the regular season, but it does feel like there's some momentum coming off that bye week, coming off the weekend against Boston College, coming off this game with their power play, maybe with Eiserman a little bit, but they'll take on UConn now. It's kind of an odd time for UConn, right? Because it's their highest Hockey East finish ever. They're the 3rd seed. Mike Cavanaugh's pretty happy with the efforts he's gotten recently, but they just haven't gotten results lately. They're just 1-4-1 in their last 3 weekends. They've only scored 12 goals over their last 6 games. But specifically, the last 4 games, it is not for lack of chances. They're averaging over 41 shots a game in their last 4. They're plus 51 in shots, Bridget, in just these 4 games. Mike Cavanaugh said they really spent a lot of time in practice this week on finishing drills. As much as you can come up with drills about trying to score greasy goals, working on screens, all those kind of finishing things that he feels like is going to be really crucial. As we talked about a little bit, their power play has been better. So we'll see what happens with this UConn team as they take on BU.
Yeah, and as we've talked about, UConn's best path is still to win the Hockey East tournament, but that's not necessarily their only path. They still have a chance at an at-large bid, but that means it is a must-win for them this weekend, so they have to move on from that game, beat BU in order to have a chance. Basically, if they don't, they have a 1% chance to make the tournament with a loss on Saturday, so it's a true knockout game for them.
Yeah, and these two teams usually play high-scoring games. Remember, UConn beat BU in the semifinals last year. They split in the regular season. These are usually high-scoring games, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. What probably won't be a high-scoring game is UMass and Northeastern. That'll come up at 4 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah, the 4 p.m. game, the 2 seed UMass, 7 seed Northeastern. No one's playing better right now in net than Michael Robel, by the way. He's coming into the tournament a .958 save percentage since the start of January, 12-3-1 record in the second half. Absolutely could take UMass through this tournament. And this matchup features 2 goalies who have been named semifinalists to the Mike Richter Award this season. So taking a look at some things that have made UMass successful in that time as well is they've been getting contributions offensively from their defensemen. Defenseman Larry Keenan scored Saturday against UNH. When UMass is scoring from their D, their offense getting going, they've really been able to build confidence in the second half. And in the tournament, UMass has won at least a round in all but one Hockey East tournament since 2018.
And they're basically in the same spot as UConn, right? There's a very small chance if they lose this weekend, they could still get in, but they basically have to win this game this weekend. But it's not an easy task because Northeastern off a 7-3 win Wednesday against UNH. Is this happening again with Northeastern? And I think the thing that really stands out is their offense recently. They scored 4 against BC on Saturday. I know there was 2 empty netters on Wednesday, but they scored 7 goals against UNH. They're averaging 3.5 goals over their last 8 games. They're getting so much from this highly touted freshman class. 9 of their 13 goals in the last 3 games have come from freshmen. Martino, Machu, Hajibi have all been really good. We know how good Northeastern can be this time of year, and now it feels like they've built a little bit of momentum here into the second half. I think it's going to be fascinating what happens, though, Bridget, because these two teams played really close games all year long. It's the 5th time that these two teams are playing. All 4 of the games before this were 1 goal or 1 goal plus an empty net. But Northeastern really heavily outshot UMass in these games. They were plus 47 in shots in those 4 games. So it might be okay because Michael Hrabel's there, but we shall see. Should be really interesting stuff. So again, at 1 o'clock, UConn BU, and then at 4 o'clock, UMass against Northeastern. Then finally on Saturday, it'll be Providence and Merrimack. Providence, the regular season champs, led by Roger McQueen, who sits down with Bridget on the other side here on This Week in Hockey East.
Welcome back to This Week in Hockey East. This interview brought to you by Boston Harbor Hotel. Plan your getaway today at bostonharborhotel.com and experience Boston's best waterfront views. Want to welcome in PC freshman center Roger McQueen. You've had such an interesting last year. We're going to get into your draft day. We're going to get into your growth at Providence. Providence clinching first place, being the top team in Hockey East, and what all of that means to you. But Roger, just thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it. Yeah, happy to be here.
So let's start with draft day because we'll go chronologically here. You get picked 10th overall by the Anaheim Ducks. So you're in California for the draft. And when we were all watching it as an NHL reporter, we got to watch you go on this wild ride, go right from being drafted onto a helicopter to Disney World. Can you take us through just how fun that experience was, what they set up for you, and how your draft day was?
Yeah, I mean, obviously draft day is like a pretty nerve-wracking day. So I don't know. I remember just kind of waking up for that day, being like, "Holy shit, this is it," and then kind of going to the draft and not really knowing. You never really know. I guess you have like the feeling of what you think, but you never ultimately know. And then obviously Anaheim picks me in LA, which is pretty cool because it's, I mean, a 45-minute drive to Anaheim. So they had fans there, which was pretty sweet. And then usually it's like a bunch of media like right after, but like 5 minutes later they had like told me I was going on a helicopter ride to Disneyland, and it was like, all right. And then got on that with my dad, went off the top of the building there. So that was pretty cool. And then we landed, and I think they brought all my family there, so I had like the whole park to myself after taking like pictures and stuff. So they gave us the whole park to ourselves after. Kind of hung out there and then went back. My agent had like a thing for us. So we went there. And then the next day, I had like this yacht tour kind of thing on like this rented out boat through Newport, which was insane. So then I had that to do. And then the next day I was throwing the pitch at the opening pitch at the Angels game. So that was pretty cool too. And it was just kind of like a whirlwind of stuff. So it was pretty sweet.
I didn't realize you had the whole park to yourself. That's that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. I don't think a lot of people can say that. I don't think a lot of people have been in a helicopter. You're not afraid of heights, right?
Depends where I am, but not normally. No, first helicopter ride though, so it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Congratulations on that, and I'm sure it played out maybe even better than you expected.
Yeah.
But take us through the rest of your summer as well, because obviously that's a whirlwind and it's a lot of fun stuff. And then you get back to work, right? You go to Anaheim Development Camp. You make your decision to come to Providence College, and I believe did you skate with them in the summer as well to like the summer school group that went, or did you come in the fall?
Yeah, no, I never skated in the summer. I just came straight into the fall after development camp. I had gone to train in Florida and then flew back home for like a couple days and then came straight here. So
So take us through that summer then. What was development camp like? What did they ask you to work on, and what went into PC becoming the landing spot for you this year?
yeah, development camp was awesome. I mean, it was nice to go somewhere hot. I'm from Saskatoon, so it's a different change for sure being in California there. So that was pretty cool. And then yeah, the camp was awesome. It was I think 4 days long. It was a bit of testing and then obviously skating every day, and it was good. The guys were great, and I had a buddy there, actually a couple buddies. Guy off Brandon, the team that I got drafted from. They Brady Turco. He's one of my buddies, and then I had Terrence Smith there from the WHL too. So I had some familiar faces there. But yeah, it was a ton of fun. I mean, a lot of things like to work on. I'd heard like it was obviously getting stronger and kind of filling out, which will come with time. So that's mostly just kind of getting in the gym and getting some more muscle on me, and then obviously like speed and quickness. Being a tall guy, there's always you can always work on that. So it was just a lot about power and kind of speed and getting stronger through my legs and stuff. So I'd heard that stuff, and that's what I had planned to do this summer. So then I went to Florida to work with Mike Barwis, and he was awesome there. And I went there for about a month and a half, and then back home with Kelly Rio, my trainer there. And then yeah, I just landed in Providence. I think it had a lot to do with talking to all the coaches, and I had talked to Nate quite a bit, and I kind of built a trust and a good bond with him, and I thought he was really genuine and kind of laid it out front for me, which I appreciated. And yeah, I mean, I had my captain from the Brandon Wheat Kings was already here, transferred, and Hudson Malinowski, my best buddy from back home in Saskatoon, was here, so it made it an easier spot to definitely come to and feel comfortable. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Easier to land where you already have people that you know. And I was talking to Nate Lehman this past week about his CHL guys. You're one of those guys. You're on a line with two other guys, Julius Sumpf, Jonathan Fauchon, that all came, all freshmen that came out of the CHL. How has that been for you? And obviously, a lot's been made this year of guys now able to come in and make that transition. What was the jump like, and how nice has it been to have other guys kind of on the same path as you?
Yeah, I mean the jump's been pretty hard. I think jumping from any league that's a little bit better is always tough. It's kind of a lot goes into it. There's obviously the new team and systems, but ultimately like the pace of the game and just having like half a second less to make a play. And I mean playing against guys that are 26, 25 and a bit heavier, it's just a more physical and heavier league. So I think it obviously took a bunch of games to get used to, and I think I'm still getting used to it. I think there's still learning to do here, but definitely think our guys, especially the CHL guys, have got used to it and have been doing really well lately. And especially having 10 freshmen and almost all of them are coming from the CHL, it's nice to be able to kind of sit down with them after a game and ask them how they're feeling. And it's nice to be able to be close with a lot of the guys just because you've played against a lot of them. So it's nice to be able to talk to them about it. But yeah, for sure, having all those guys to be able to go through it with you is nice as well.
Yeah, he paid you guys a compliment as well. He said every one of the guys my assistants brought us, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's such a great guy, and they're gonna fit really well. And you guys do have a young team. You have a group of a lot of freshmen, and there's been teams around Hockey East and around the NCAA in general who've had young teams that haven't had as much success as you guys have. Obviously, finishing first place. What are some of the things that you guys have been able to do to kind of mesh together to lead you to having a young team that's also a successful team?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, a lot goes into it. Obviously, there's a great staff here and everything around that. But I think the biggest thing as a team is just, I mean, everyone buys into the same thing. Like everyone kind of knows their role and is totally fine with what coach asks them to do or what the team's asking for. And yeah, I think everyone just is trust each other. I mean, when you can look around the room and look to your right and left, and you can trust every guy that's going to go out there and work for you, it just works on the ice, and it usually all folds together. And we've been doing that really well in the second half. And I think just after the first half, it was not a bad first half, but it was definitely a tougher one and a learning curve for a ton of people. So I think just taking that and taking information, what you can get from it, and learning from that, and bringing that into the second half, I think we did a really good job of just being able to get through that, and then yeah, just show what we can do. I mean, we know what we can do, and we know the group of guys we have in here, so it's just about trusting one another.
Well, congratulations on your season and the season your team has had, finishing first place, getting underway in the quarterfinals on Saturday. So good luck with the playoffs. Exciting time of year for you guys. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Women's Hockey East Championship game and the two teams from the women's side that made the NCAA tournament. Plus, we preview the men's quarterfinal matchups this weekend. Coming up next on This Week in Hockey East.
Welcome back to more This Week in Hockey East. Let's continue talking about the Hockey East quarterfinals. We just heard a bit about Providence. Let's go there next. The Friars hosting 8-seed Merrimack. Nice win for Merrimack against Lowell, and they have some good momentum going into this round. They're unbeaten in their last 4 games, going back even farther, as we've talked about a lot. Since December 12th, they're 13-5-2 overall. They've been really good on the power play all year, Bridget, but that's especially showing up recently. Over just the last 4 games, they're 6 for 12 on their power play. Nick Pierre scored one on Wednesday. He also had a couple of assists. It's all about these newcomers, these freshmen, these sophomores for Merrimack, right? Justin Gill, Parker Lalonde, both named to the Hockey East All-Rookie team. Trevor Hoskin, we've talked a lot about. He came over from Niagara. He scored 2 goals on Wednesday, and now that's another 30-point season for him.
Yeah, the freshmen and the sophomores this season make up a lot of Merrimack's production this year. The entire top 6 forward group is made up of underclassmen, and the 4 centers down the middle for Merrimack are all freshmen, though they are older freshmen, right? We're talking about guys who have come in after playing in the CHL. They're all 22, 23 years old, but it is their first season in the NCAA, and the Warriors also get a few players back from injury last weekend. Ty Deneau and Hunter Mayo missed a chunk of time in December and January. They came back. They were playing in the opening round on Wednesday. Unfortunately for the Friars, they've gone a little bit in the opposite direction, and we have to start with their injury notes here. 2 players going down in the final game of the regular season against UConn. One was Andrew Centrella, who crashed into the boards feet first, didn't return to the game. Nate Lehman announced after the game he might be done for the year, depending on how far the Friars make it. So it sounds like maybe the NCAA tournament, he could be available at some point, but it doesn't sound like we'll see him in the rest of the Hockey East tournament. He's a big part of PC's back end as well. He's on their top D pair, and he's one of the more veteran guys back there. And Logan Sawyer was the other player injured in the last game of the regular seasons. He crashed into the boards as well, but he went arm first. Nate Lehman said he's listed as day to day. And he did score before that a very key goal against UConn to win that final game of the regular season. And let's talk about PC's goaltending in youth. I think that's the other story here. The Friars have 3 freshmen who are named to the Hockey East All-Rookie team.
Yeah, you see a couple of them there, right? Parsons, Manti, and Roger McQueen, obviously. Parsons, the only unanimous selection to that team, and it's certainly well-deserved, right? 12-2 in his 14 starts since he took over for Philip Svedback. I think that it's a great example of how college hockey may just be a little bit different now than it's been in years past. And you may not be the team on October 1st that you are late. It's just going to take a while for some of these teams with a lot of newcomers to get themselves to their right place that they want to be. But to Providence's credit, they certainly have done that in the second half of the season. Even here, though, this is a season series that was split. Now, it was way back in November. Providence heavily outshot Merrimack in both games. Even the game that Merrimack won, shots were 42-25 in favor of Providence. The Warriors had a 3-0 lead in that game before Providence scored 2 late in the third, but still fell by 1. So that's the 7 o'clock game Saturday, and we'll see who goes to the Hockey East semifinals.
Yeah, and then finally, the 4-5 game, the 4-seed BC hosting the 5-seed Maine on Friday night. Maybe just a little bit of a weird matchup where these two teams are in their seasons. You look at BC first; it's been 4 straight losses, and obviously that's the wrong time of year to be having that kind of a stretch. But then you look at Maine, who felt like they maybe found something with 4 straight wins, but then losing the last game of the regular season. So both teams coming in maybe not the way that they wanted to exactly.
Yeah, I think with this BC thing, it's interesting because you look at these games, and outside of the first period against BU on Friday, the 27th, I don't get the sense that BC feels like they've played that badly. It just has been the results haven't been there. And the analytics really would back that up. I mean, if you take the second BU game and the UMass game, BC's like plus 4.5 in expected goals in those 2 games. It's not like they haven't gotten grade A chances either. They certainly have. They just haven't really been able to take advantage of 2-on-1s and some breakaways. But they've only scored 5 times over the last 4 games. So can they unlock some of that scoring, especially 5-on-5? Right? Since the start of February, BC has more power play goals than they have 5-on-5 goals. Can they get secondary scoring beyond Higgins and Letourneau? Those two have combined for 16 of BC's last 34 goals. So can they get those other pieces, that other scoring to come with them in Friday's game?
Yeah, and for Maine, things had been trending for them well before that loss to Vermont. 23 goals over the last 6 games, at least 3 in all 6. And they're paced by Josh Nadeau, who's been doing it while Maine has been down, also without Justin Poirier. So Nadeau has a 5 game point streak going on with 7 goals in the last and 13 points in the last time out. And Brendan Holt, another guy to look at, he's got 10 points over the last 6 games.
Yeah, so it's not the offense, right? It's been the offense has been pretty good. It's about what Maine gets in goal, right? Will we see Russo again? He had started the last 5 games, won 4, but then struggled a little bit against Vermont. Do they go back to Boya, who obviously won them this tournament last year? It'll be really interesting to see. If they get good goaltending, they can win, right? We saw them do that against BC in November when Russo had a shutout. But when they don't have their goaltending, you sometimes see a 7-3 game like BC won the first game of the series in November. So should be really interesting. True knockout game here. The winner goes on, the loser goes home. We also had a really awesome Hockey East Women's Championship last weekend. We're going to look back at that when we come back.
Welcome back to This Week in Hockey East. Finally, this past Saturday was the Women's Hockey East Championship game between Northeastern and UConn. So let's take a look back at that. Brought to you by Boston Children's Hospital, the official children's hospital of Hockey East. Boston Children's, where the world comes for answers. UConn was the 2 seed. They were hosting the 1 seed at Toscano Family Ice Forum against Northeastern, and it was a tight game. 2 great goaltending performances as expected, and because of that, we went to double overtime, and Kyla Josefovic with a game-winning goal to lift UConn to the 2-1 win. She's our Jersey Mike's a sub above player of the week. Her goal came 95 minutes into the game, which made it the longest title game in the history of the Women's Hockey East tournament. And with the win, UConn brought home its second Bertagna Trophy in program history, winning a Hockey East title in 2 of the last 3 seasons.
And as you see there, Tia Chan, much deserved MVP award of the tournament. She broke the saves record in a Hockey's championship game with 57. It's worth noting she was named to the top 10 finalist list for the Patty Kazmaier Award as best player in the country. She was the only goalie on that list and was with a couple of U.S. Olympic gold medalists on that list as well. Not like Lisa Janssen was bad on the other side, right? She made 54 saves in the game for Northeastern. Both of these teams make the NCAA tournament. First time Hockey East has had multiple bids in a full-length regular year since 2018, 2019. But it was the exact game we predicted it was going to be, right? Close. It was going to be all about the goaltending. It ends up going double overtime, and UConn comes away with the win. So it wrapped up a really special season on the women's side across Hockey East, and really just a perfect fitting way to end the season. We're in playoff mode now on the men's side as well. And again, the quarterfinal schedule will have BC and Maine coming up at 7 o'clock on Friday on Nesson. And then our triple header Saturday, UConn BU at 1, UMass and Northeastern at 4, and then Merrimack at Providence at 7 o'clock. And the 4 winners will reseed at TD Garden a week from Friday. And we'll be back next week to preview those semifinal games and take you through the Hockey East Championship. It's the best time of year. Can't wait for it. Should be so exciting this weekend. Thanks so much for joining us for another edition of This Week in Hockey East. Enjoy the quarterfinals.